Hey you guys, it's your girl T. So a lot of folks have been wanting me to come on here and talk about the whole Bobbi Kristina situation. As you guys know, out of all the YouTubers, I have talked about Bobbi Kristina over the years. I've had her back on numerous instances when people try to attack her as far as her weight and things like that. I've also called her out when I felt like she was wrong, like what she did with the whole Angela Bassett situation. I stand by every Bobbi Kristina video I've ever made on YouTube. I'm not going to wayward or act differently because she's since passed. But this whole situation with her passing has never sat well with me, like I stated on Twitter. I felt like this young girl died 6 months ago, back in January, when they initially found her dead in the bathtub. And the fact that she died in such an eerie circumstance, the same as her mother 3 years before her, nothing with this entire situation sits well with my spirit. And I did not want to make a video about Bobbi Kristina until after the whole funeral. You know, I want to know what all went down, what all happened. And I was disgusted by a lot of the things that I saw, a lot of the things that I read online concerning her funeral, concerning what went down, concerning Pat Houston. I mean, the whole situation with Bobbi Kristina just does not sit well with me. And the fact that this girl was so young, she was only 22 years old. She hadn't even fully begun to live her life. And to know that she died in this manner and that people are trying to take advantage. The first thing that disturbed me when hearing about her funeral is the fact that Pat Houston, who is Whitney Houston's brother's wife, was saying that in lieu of flowers, send her money so that way she could donate the money to her charity, which is a charity that she, you know, put together for troubled girls. Now, the thing that bothers me is that now she's so worried about helping troubled girls, but this same woman cannot even help her own niece, okay? Another thing that bothered me is also that Pat Houston was dictating who could come and see Bobbi Kristina and who couldn't come see her at the funeral. She had a VIP guest list, you know, and I understand that you don't want everybody coming and you don't want it open to the public because people there can be selfish, people can take pictures, people can cause chaos. But for her to basically dictate that certain family members who are related to Bobbi Kristina couldn't come is really, really disheartening as well. And I think the craziest thing that happened at her funeral is that Leolah Brown, who was Bobbi Brown's sister, came out and basically blasted Pat Houston, went off on her about her antics, you know. And I mean, to me, I feel like after a while, this is just no longer about Bobbi Kristina. The whole situation is just nuts to me. I want you guys to go ahead and check out these news clips, and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary.
I want you inside.
Because of the fact that they said that my wife's name was not on some list that the family had, already go inside and pay her respects to her cousin, who is now deceased, Bobbi Kristina Brown.
How do you feel about that? Obviously,
it's sick because number one, that's my wife. She just found out she had a cousin back in 2012. They started connecting and talking and reaching out and making a bond with each other, and now she couldn't get to the funeral in Georgia. A very good friend of mine took today off from his job to drive us all the way out here so she can come and pay respects. And now you're gonna say, okay, this person allegedly says that there's no name on a list. I've never in my life heard of having a list for someone that you want to go and mourn and say goodbye to. Most of the time, someone dies, family, friends, anyone, you're allowed to go, view the body, pay respects, and say goodbyes, or whatever the case is. Now, my wife has to wait until the very next time she's actually emotionally able to come and pay her respects to her cousin. And it's very, very just unheard of, literally.
That's the only thing I can do is come back. Come back and see my cousin and pay my respects. That's all I can do.
just have a few words to say. Come over here so we can hear you. Whitney will haunt Pat Houston from the grave. She will haunt him. Pat, it's not over. It has just begun. It has just begun.
Why do you say that?
I say that because I have information, I have evidence, I have knowledge of who Pat really is. And she is not any relation whatsoever to Houston. She's not even a Houston, she's a guy. But Pat Houston, it's going to be a long, drawn-out thing, trust me. It's not over. It's not over. I'll be doing interviews, and I'll be speaking out and telling the truth about Pat.
How did things go in?
It went wonderful until Pat started speaking, and I didn't like that.
What she said?
What did she say? I just told her that Whitney was going to haunt her from the grave.
What did Pat say at the funeral?
Not much. She's not saying anything. I really don't know what she's saying. You know, she's just being the phony person that she is.
Was it a Sweet 16 themed event, Leolah?
Leolah, can can you come down here for us down here?
I would gladly talk to all of you if you
Just come this way a little bit.
Leolah, come down this way.
Chrissy, she'll be remembered in our hearts forever. Just like this. Okay, I really love my niece, and I'm so sad that this has happened to me. Right after her mother. Brain, this is not something that just happens. Okay, this is going to be connected. Again, yes, I'm angry at Nick. I'm angry at what happened to my niece. But Pat has something. I know he had it. I know he had it. I'll speak on that later.
Leolah, come down this way.
Leolah, please come down.
I always wanted to say it's not over. It has just begun.
How did Bobby know? Where to next, Leolah?
Westfield, New Jersey, their respects as Bobbi Kristina Brown, the 22-year-old daughter of late singer Whitney Houston, was laid to rest. Her burial was private and closed to the public, but well-wishers stood behind police barricades outside.
Just in support of the Houston family, and I was here 3 years ago when Whitney Houston was buried here at the cemetery, and I just wanted to show support.
Brown died on July 26th at a hospice 6 months after suffering irreversible brain damage in a still unexplained incident at her Roswell, Georgia home. She was found face down and unresponsive in a bathtub by her boyfriend and a friend in January, in an eerie echo of her mother's death. Whitney Houston was found drowned in a bathtub at a Beverly Hills hotel in 2012.
All right, so you guys just watched that news clip, and I just feel like this whole situation is just sad. But I think what's worse is that now today TMZ is reporting that Bobbi Kristina's death picture, her in her casket, sold to the highest bidder at over $100,000. This is the same thing that happened to Whitney Houston. And at that point in time, Pat Houston was the one who was accused of selling Whitney Houston's death photo in her coffin. I just found this whole situation just sick. Bobbi Kristina was on a reality TV show called On Our Own, and I never watched the show. I never once tuned in. I felt like it was way too soon. Whitney Houston had only been dead 3 months when Pat Houston decided to film this reality TV show. And so last night I decided to watch it just to kind of see, what was it about. A lot of folks have been asking me, had I watched it? Did I see how high Bobbi Kristina was on the show? So I sat and I watched it. I literally couldn't get past the second episode. I was just disgusted by it. This girl was clearly in pain. This girl clearly needed counseling. She hadn't even had time to grieve her mother properly, and they already had cameras in her face. At the time when Bobbi Kristina was talking, she literally sounded like she had a frog in her throat. Like she couldn't even speak clearly. You could tell she was very emotional. There was an episode of her, and then in one of the episodes, she was even nodding off. It was clearly obvious that this girl was high on opiates. She was trying to basically just dumb down her pain, trying to find ways to get over it. And they weren't trying to help her. All they were doing was exploiting this young girl. They had no business filming that show whatsoever. It almost reminded me back when her parents had their own reality TV show, being Bobbi Brown. And Whitney Houston and Bobbi Brown were high out their mind. And Bobbi Kristina was just sitting there looking at all this foolishness being a little girl. And then fast forward 10 years later, they're basically doing the same thing to her, except now it's the daughter who's on camera high. I'm just really, really disgusted by how they try to exploit this girl. And now even in her death, she's still being exploited. I just feel really bad. And I just hope that Bobbi Kristina ends up finding the peace that she so-called wanted. I definitely feel like the girl's trying to numb her pain by using drugs and by getting high. And she had a lot of yes men around her. They're also saying that Nick Gordon is being heavily investigated by the police as well, because they also feel like he may have had something to do with the situation. It's just sad. It's just really, really unfortunate that this young girl did not get to live her life to her full potential, and that her story ended this past weekend during her funeral. I just feel really bad for Bobby Brown. As we all know, he just had another daughter with his new wife. So I just feel really bad for the father. But it's even worse when you have family members bickering and going back and forth on social media and making this about them and not about Bobbi Kristina, and basically giving her father the respect that he deserves to mourn his daughter in peace. So anyways, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping, you guys. Let me know what you guys feel about the whole Bobbi Kristina situation? How do you feel about her death? How do you feel about how folks were showing out at the funeral? How do you feel about Pat Houston? And do you agree with me when I said that it was way too soon for them to film Bobbi Kristina on a reality TV show? Do you feel like Pat Houston was taking advantage of the situation and not really looking after Bobbi Kristina's best needs? How do you feel about Leolah Brown and what she had to say at the funeral as well, about her going off on Pat Houston and saying that Whitney Houston will haunt Pat forever? Let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. All right, deuces. Hey YouTube, it's your girl Lovelyti, and you can show me some love by hitting that subscribe button, watching my previous videos, and following me on social media.